So I was about I guess 3 years ago, I was in a Zoom meeting with a bunch of other entrepreneur support people. And I had on my red glasses. My eyes have outgrown those now. And I had on my red lipstick. And I had filed for Medicare. I was getting full Social Security. I was reading my AARP magazine cover to cover and the newsletters, reading everything. And I was at the point where if I picked up something heavy, people say, "Oh, Miss Katie, that's too heavy for you. Don't pick that up. I'll carry that for you." And I was not having to ask for the senior discount. People were looking at me saying,
Nice.
"Would you like the senior discount?" And I said,
Nice.
"Oh, I am officially a little old lady."
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Biz Dev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I'm David Baxter, your host, joined per usual by Mr. Gary Voigt. I'm so excited you're here, man.
Hello and happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
Caught him off
Oh,
guard.
it is
He
a
was not
magical
expecting
day.
that.
He did. Well, normally he just says mean things to me. And so today he's going to be nice. I'm 29 today, so that's good. No one's going to
Yeah.
believe that.
No one does.
I don't even believe that. That's fine. I'm 48 today. 48, which still makes me 25 years younger than Gary. So that's very good.
Hey, at least you don't have any gray hair on your head.
More importantly, we are joined by Katie Gailes, who is the Entrepreneur Whisperer. The way we start is we ask some intro questions for you. Just some icebreakers, get to know you a little bit better. You game?
Okay. I'm game.
All right, here we go. Are you a chocolate or vanilla fan?
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Good call. What about fancy restaurant or hole in the wall?
Hole in the wall.
Okay. All right. Do you have a favorite in the triangle area?
Gee, I don't know. My favorite used to be, it's no longer open. And so it was Mama Dips.
Oh, okay.
Her name was Mildred Council. She's no longer with us, and her family just closed down the restaurant, I think, last year. But it was a place that was in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So it wasn't where I lived, but we were willing to drive there and wait in line. I had a dirt floor, only had about maybe 15 seats.
Oh, wow.
But you got all of that good down home country food. Yams, collard greens, mac and cheese, ribs, cornbread, all the heart attack foods.
Yeah, that good old-fashioned good. There was a place like that when I lived in Houston that I was introduced to, and it was this like little house, and you walked in, and it was like literally being in someone's kitchen, and it was exactly like you're describing. It was just that old kind of soul food, butter-heavy deliciousness. Oh, I totally get it.
Yes.
All right, here we go. Are you a person who finishes every book you start, or do you feel no guilt when you quit early?
I usually finish every book I start. If I don't finish it, it's because I really don't like it. And that's rare. I can only think of maybe one book I did not finish.
My wife has this curse that she has to finish every book she starts, even if she hates it. So she will read a book she despises just because she can't. There's something about it. There is a guilt for her that she doesn't finish what she starts. I have zero problem with that. My actual problem is the opposite. Like business books in particular, I'll read a third of them and be like, I've got the gist. I'm done.
Oh, wow.
It's
business
bad. Don't
books
do that. But
I take a different approach to business books. Novels, I will read the whole thing to get the whole story. Now, if it's in a series, I may not finish the series, but I'll always finish the book. Because, sometimes these successful fiction series is catching on and the authors start dragging the story out. Then I might lose the interest because it's clear they're milking it. Business books, I might scan it first to get an outline, and then I'll go back and read the whole thing. My favorite one that I did that, and I still go back to read this book, is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
oh, sure. Yeah.
First read that book in 1992, and I've reread it multiple times because it's kind of like the Bible. Sometimes you fall off the wagon and you got to go back and and refresh yourself.
It's always something good to get out of there. I totally get it.
That's right. That's right.
Totally get it. All righty. So I need to hear what you mean by calling yourself the entrepreneur whisperer.
Okay.
Said that wrong the first time. Entrepreneur whisperer. Tell me more about that.
Can I tell you how I got started?
Absolutely.
So I'm old enough to be your mother, David. So it's good that you call me Miss Katie.
Fair enough.
So I was about I guess 3 years ago, I was in a Zoom meeting with a bunch of other entrepreneur support people. And I had on my red glasses. My eyes have outgrown those now. And I had on my red lipstick. And I had filed for Medicare. I was getting full Social Security. I was reading my AARP magazine cover to cover and the newsletters, reading everything. And I was at the point where if I picked up something heavy, people say, "Oh, Miss Katie, that's too heavy for you. Don't pick that up. I'll carry that for you." And I was not having to ask for the senior discount. People were looking at me saying, "Would you like the senior discount?"
Nice.
And I said, "Oh, I am officially a little old lady, and there are benefits. There are benefits." So on my Zoom ID on the screen, it says Katie Gailes, official little old lady. And there was a big debate over whether or not that was true. They said, "You cannot be." And I said, "No, let me prove it." And that this, I'm official. They said, "No, we can't continue this meeting till you change that. You're not a little old lady." So I just, off the top of my head, threw something out there, and I pulled up the Entrepreneur Whisperer. I don't know why. Maybe it was divine intervention. But I put it up there, and everybody said, "Oh, that's right. That's exactly what you are. You're the Entrepreneur Whisperer. You're the..." And I said, I kind of like the way that sounds. And then as I continued to use people, that's exactly what you are. So I began to fully embrace that, because I do believe that I have the ability to see things that others can't see, especially where opportunities are concerned and creative problem solving is concerned. And I say that sometimes with my clients, I listen to what they say, and then I tell them what they mean.
Nice.
So I embrace it. I'm the Entrepreneur Whisperer.
Fair enough. So you've been doing this for 10 plus years now.
At least.
So
Probably
that
20 years.
That means that you've earned that title, because if you've been doing
so.
it that long, even if you were faking it to begin with, you've got enough experience. You've got to be doing it for reals now.
Yeah.
So your claim to fame is you like to help people find their secret sauce. Tell me more about that.
So everybody has a special ability that belongs to them.
Gary's just to be annoying.
And if you could package that and make it appealing, you can make a lot of money. That annoying,
You can be annoying. Oh, I'm not sure he's still with us. No, I think he's gone again. There he is.
It's how to be annoying in 3 easy steps, something like that.
Oh, he should totally write that. So you have your special. I'm sorry, I derailed you there. So you have something special about you, and you're packaging it. How does that work?
A package finding their special thing.
Yeah.
So it's that what I mentioned before, that I listen to what they say, and then I tell them what they mean. So sometimes people are looking at what somebody else is doing, and they're saying, I'm gonna do that one. I'm gonna do it like that. When in reality, even if they're doing exactly this, looks like they're doing the same thing, they're not. What's an example? A simple example. Let's say a house painter. Pretty straightforward business, right? And you try to be on time, you try to have a good price, you try to do just good work, you be polite, you show up, you're clean, straightforward. But there was one guy that came to paint my house once, and he walked in, and he was just a house painter. What do you do? What do you do? Somebody had referred him to me, so they liked his work. So that's what part of his secret sauce. But I noticed that he put on the little booties when he came in my house. At the end of the day, it took him about 3 days. At the end of the day, came home, my house looked like he hadn't been there, other than some walls were a different color. So he put everything back exactly the way it was. And I said, why do you do that? Why do you do that? That's a lot of effort. Why don't you just leave everything in the middle? He said, because if I did that at my house, my wife would make me go sleep in the garage. So that was his secret thing, that he had that level of attention to the fact that most likely a woman is hiring him, and she doesn't want to come home and find her house in a mess. That was his secret sauce that he could use to market himself differently. So there's always that some simple thing that they take for granted that would make them stand out in the marketplace. But because they do it as instinct, they take it for granted. One client had an auto repair business that he started because he got laid off from the auto dealership where he worked. He was a certified BMW mechanic, so he had credentials. And he started doing oil changes and minor repairs out of the garage in the back of his house. It's pretty straightforward. But what he would do is the morning after every service, he would call his clients. Say, how you doing? How's it going? Did everything go okay? What did you like? What you did? It took about 15 minutes. No mechanic had ever done that, not an individual mechanic. That was his secret sauce. And so because of that, people felt comfortable sending their mother to him, sending their grandmother to him, sending their children, their daughters to him because of that extra care. That was his secret sauce. But he
So
took it
if
for
I don't
granted.
have you to help me figure that out, how would a entrepreneur find their secret sauce? How would they narrow that down? Because you're saying they're blind to it a lot of times.
That's
How
right,
do I
'cause they
become
just do it.
unblind?
They think it's just what you're supposed to do. That's just how they think it ought to be done. They need to ask their customers.
Okay.
The customers will tell them if you ask.
So what would be it seems grandiose to say, hey, you've been working with me for a little while. What's my secret sauce?
Oh,
That's
no, you
kind
would
of
never say that.
yeah. What is the right way of phrasing that so you'd get that answer out?
You would just ask your customers, well, how did you like the service?
Okay.
What you like about it? What you dislike about it? What could I do differently? What do you think I should keep doing? You don't have to do a massive campaign. You can just, when they come in for the next service, say, how things going? How do you like the service? What would you change? What should I do differently? What should I keep? And oddly enough, that further endears you to your customer. Because they're looking at it and say, oh, I'm not just the swipe of the credit card. This person really cares about what I think.
So who are your typical clients? Are they more of the painter types? Are they more of the tech type? The bio in the triangle, biosciences are huge, tech is huge. But of course,
Yes.
there's a million other businesses. Where do you like to focus?
My space is what I call the Main Street businesses.
Okay.
Businesses that make communities work. So I used to say that, and people say, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Then came the pandemic, and boy, did we learn a whole lot from that. Like during the pandemic, nobody ever said, oh, I can't get to my app developer. What am I going to do? But they would say, hey, I can't get to my barber, my hairdresser. I can't get to my esthetician. I can't go to my coffee shop or my boutique. I can't go to my bookstore. Now, I wish I could get my HVAC guy to come in, but we all have to leave the house, while these people missed those Main Street businesses. These are the businesses that make communities work. If you didn't have these businesses, the bioscience and the tech companies would not locate in your community because their people would not like living there. So now I think after the pandemic, when I say Main Street businesses, everybody kind of knows what that means.
Yeah,
So
I totally get that.
I've had a couple of tech-oriented clients, maybe a few life science clients, and the main thing I can do for them is give them a thought process to figure out who their ideal client is. But if it comes to all the other stuff about their business, the coding and the FDA approvals and all that stuff, they need somebody who really understands that business. My specialty is the Main Street businesses, the ones that make communities work.
Nice. No, I appreciate that because not a lot of people focus on that. I think
That's really why my focus is here. When I worked for the local community college, I started the entrepreneurship department, and mine was funded by private dollars. So my mission was to go out and find the gaps, the holes in the entrepreneur fabric in the area. And the hole that I found was really concentrated support for Main Street businesses, because let's face it, a tech business, a life science business, it is sexy.
Yeah.
You can start it. You can develop an app that uses drones to find out where all the dog poop is in the high-end neighborhoods and spotlight somebody give you $7 million to develop it. Because first of all, they know a whole lot more about it than you do probably. And it's going to scale quickly. You're going to get your round A funding. They're going to get their money back. But if you're trying to open a daycare center in a community where the closest one is 10 miles away, nobody's going to give you any of that investment for that, because it'll take them a decade to get their investment back. So that's why I focused on, that was the gap that I saw, is concentrated support for these small businesses that make communities work. They may never be big businesses. Because some businesses, if you make them too big, they lose the flavor that draws people to them in the first place.
Yeah, if you have a big painting company, you're franchising and you lose some of that special.
That's right. And you lose your ability to impart the culture that you're creating to every single worker.
So with all of your experience with all these kinds of businesses, and it's funny because my main business is we build technology, but we're a consulting firm, not much different than a painter, just different kind of paint.
Yeah, yeah.
So I resonate with a lot of this stuff, even though I'm on the nerdy side. So when you're talking to businesses like mine or these other Main Street businesses, what separates a business owner who can build something sustainable versus someone who's constantly stuck in survival mode?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I think there are three types of people involved in small business. And I have a nephew who would argue with me about this, but there is the hustler. I don't say that as a negative thing.
Sure.
I'm talking about that as a mindset that says, I want to get in there. I want to do this business. I'm going to make this money. I'm going to make a lot of money fast. I'm not going to worry about the details. I'm not going to worry about the processes because I'll make so much money, it won't matter. That's the hustler. And if you understand that you're a hustler, that's fine because you know that business is going to end soon because the minute it starts growing, you can't manage it. You didn't put in any processes. You don't have any other people. You're going to have to go do something, sell it or go do something else. That's the hustler. Then you've got the entrepreneur that is able to see an opportunity and is willing to assume that risk. Like an entrepreneur can walk into an empty room and say, wow, there's nothing in here. I can build something in here. It's blank. It's open. I can do whatever I want. That's the entrepreneur. Then there's a small business owner that says, I don't want to start that stuff from scratch. I'm looking for something that's running so I can manage it. And I think there are those three types. It helps to know which one you are.
It's fair. Okay.
So when I call my nephew a hustler, he gets upset. I said, no. It's not an insult. I'm saying that's your approach to business.
Yeah. And I think there's something, I can see strengths in all of them. Because like the hustler is one of those kinds of people. They're going to succeed. Now their business might be 12 businesses in one because they're doing all these different little things, but they're always hunting for that next little edge. And they're constantly moving and adapting, which means they don't fail very often just out of sheer will.
They're gonna grow it if you are raising racing greyhounds. You're gonna breed them. You're gonna get them to a certain point. Then you're gonna hand them over to somebody else.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna go breed some new ones. And so the hustler, oftentimes you will see they'll get businesses up to a certain level. They'll sell it to somebody who wants to run it. They don't want to run it. They want to start and build it and get a whole bunch of money up front. And then somebody, when it needs a whole bunch of process and people, give it to somebody else.
Yeah, I think there are people who are addicted of the high of that starting. And then when it gets stable, this is boring, I need out. And it's interesting. We've been running our company for 13 years, so I certainly am not one who's going to cut and run. But I do like the excitement of starting something new. There is something very enticing there.
We believe that business is built on transparency and trust. We believe that good software should be built the same way. Big Pixel is a 100% US-based, fixed-fee, custom software design and development agency built on transparency and passion. No offshore handoffs, no surprise invoices. Just a team that treats your problem like it's our own. UX and design are core to everything we do. Not a phase that gets handed off, but a discipline that runs through every decision we make. We bring the expertise to build what your business needs, and the clarity to know when AI and technology help and when they get in the way. We provide our clients honest assessments of where they are and how they can get where they want to go. Your idea deserves the right team. Let's talk, plan, and create something that truly works for you.
It's weird to think of, somebody just asked me this the other day, but sometimes I ask my clients, how are you going to get out of this thing? I know you're just starting or you're relatively new and you're not thinking about this because it's like writing your obituary, but some people leaders do. It's like writing your obituary while you're still, just in your 40s. I don't want to think about that, but it's helpful to think about your exit strategy, like the end of life for this business, because that really determines how you grow it. So I once worked for a European-owned company. It was owned by these three partners. One was a Swede whose family was filthy rich, and his interest in the business was to grow it as quickly as possible, sell it, take that money, because that's what his family does. The other was a young man who he was a Scotsman, and so he had just had a young son. He wanted to grow the business, create something that, 20 years from now, his son can take over. And the other was a Brit who'd been around for a while. He was in his 50s. He thought he'd earned the right to be the president. He had the title president. He thought he'd earned the right to be president of a global company and fly around to the locations in first class. Okay? 3 very different views of the business. And it was just a holy mess, because how you grow the business really is defined by how you're going to get out of it. So if you want to grow something real fast and get out in 4 or 5 years, sell, make a bunch of money, that's why technology and life science is so appealing, because you can do that with them.
Sure.
Okay? You'll grow it real fast, sell it, take the money and run. If your objective is to build something that you will hand over to the next generation, now you're approaching things a little bit more methodically. Laying foundations, setting up, making sure you got key man insurance, making sure you're bringing that next generation along, not letting them know something about the business, but not beating them about the head and shoulders with it so they resent it. And the first thing you do when you die is sell it. Okay. And if you're looking to grow something that you can sell for sure, then you build things differently too, because you're thinking about, how do I build value in this for the long term? Strategic alliances, a great database, some renewable contracts. So thinking about how you want to get out of it really determines how you build it.
Now, let me push on that for a minute, because I call it yellow flags, because it's not a red flag, but when a startup comes to me and they want us to build their software, when someone says to me, hey, I'm going to build this because I want to sell it really fast, I usually call that a yellow flag, because when you're starting from scratch, that 5 years is going to be painful, oftentimes. And if you're looking, I call it the ghost check that's floating out there in your dreams, that's often not enough motivation to get you through that ugly 4 to 5 years. So I warn them, I was like, hey, if that's really what you're looking for, this is a really hard way to do that, because one, most businesses don't get successful enough to sell that quickly. But even if they do, that's a hard 5 years. And so that's just something I've always said. What would you say to that?
So here again is definition. Are you saying you want to sell it outright, take the cash and run? You probably, at that point, if that's what your ultimate goal is, you might end up selling at a discount, because the value to you was to take the money and run. If you're wanting to cash out to some degree, you could do like some of the IT companies in the Triangle area have done. You bring in enough partners that you end up being a minority owner anyway. So you've basically got your money and you still got your job. So take each level and say, okay, now what do you mean by that? Let's go a little bit deeper. And what do you mean by that? Let's go a little bit deeper.
Okay. So changing gears a little bit, with all your experience, have you noticed any patterns? It's funny, because I've got all these questions that I've got written up here, and a lot of them start with that. And that's probably just not the best way to keep saying that.
Yeah, because I'm feeling really old with all your experience, Katie.
Now, to be fair, you did start with the little granny story. So
that's right. That is true. That is true.
Okay. It's important to establish it, because if you were new at this, you couldn't answer this question.
Okay.
But have you noticed a pattern with founders that consistently outperform their peers?
Consistently outperform their peers. Okay. So I'm getting really nerdy on you, Mr. Nerdy.
That's fine. I'm used to it.
Now we have to decide, who are their peers? Are you talking about other small businesses or other small businesses in their same type of business?
For this question, I would say peers as in same stage of business, not necessarily same industry.
Okay. Consistently outperform their peers. I think the ones who really understand why they're in business, that why makes them do it on the days when it is not fun. Yes, you mentioned earlier, entrepreneurship is not for weenies. You're going to have some tough days, and you got to be in there, something that motivates you to keep going. That's one thing I've noticed. The ability to start even when it's not perfect. The ability to move even when you don't have perfect information.
Okay.
So if you're a really analytical person, sometimes you're waiting for that perfect knowledge and it never comes. So you're never able to get going, because to you, the situation has never been right, because you can't get past this because you need that perfect information. So people who are able to take the best information that they have at the moment and move forward. That means they are willing to go do the research and put forth the effort to say, okay, I've looked into this. This is the best knowledge I have right now. Let me move forward.
You know, it's funny you say that. It reminds me, I've heard this from a few different entrepreneurs, but I know specifically Jeff Bezos is known for this.
Mm-hmm.
He'll say that, hey, the decisions ultimately, when you look in a 5-year time span, the decisions don't actually matter. Some are good, some are bad, but not enough to matter one way or what matters is the fact that you made the decision.
You made the decision.
That's what makes a good business owner. And I thought, man, that is profound.
That's that I would say is a pattern I've noticed is the ones who are intimately aware of who their ideal customer is. Okay? They don't spend time going after somebody that's not for them. I've got, there's a tailor who is so intimately aware of who his customers are. It is just amazing. He says, I don't need 500. I need 50 people who are like this. And for everyone like that I get, and I love them to death, they'll bring you 2 more just like that. So they're not wasting their effort going after people that they think ought to buy, they like them to buy, or if only they could buy. They say, here are my people. That's who I'm going after. Now, you will always get some ripple. If there's a red dot in the middle of the pond and that's your ideal customer, you drop a rock in that red dot, bullseye, there's going to be some ripple. You will get some other folk, but you don't spend a whole lot of effort on those other folk. You thank the Lord for them, but you're really focused on your ideal customer. And ones who are intimately aware of who that is tend to grow because they're so efficient in loving that customer.
No, I can see that. Yeah, where I struggle, especially when I'm talking to new people, when you're in survival mode, you'll do anything for those dollars, right?
Oh, you
When
will.
can you make that transition to say, I know who my ICP is, I know who I want to work with, but I'm going to say no to these people because I'm stable enough. That's a really tough thing for an entrepreneur to shift, right? Because it's so hard when you're in survival mode to let go of survival mode. That's where I struggle with that.
Yeah, I went through that too when I first started, where I wanted to hold on to I wanted every customer. I wanted every dollar. I didn't think I could walk away from anything. And I wasted so much time on doing that I missed the opportunity to go after. I should have spent that time and energy on going after the people that were really valuable to me. And so when I look back on it now, I say that was a mistake. Because when you're going after people that are not your ideal, that means they're probably not going to be repeat customers. They may not ultimately value what you have to offer, so it may not be good references for you. So is that a good investment of your time? Now, I understand, because I was at the time, I was a necessity entrepreneur. I got laid off. And so you're in that panic mode that I've got to get every dollar. I got to get every dollar. So it's an emotional thing that people go through when they're necessity entrepreneurs. I understand that. But most people in this country actually start a business while they're still working. So their mortgage is paid. They're paying the utilities. May not be able to take that 2-week vacation this year, but they're not going to be put out on the streets. And given that, most people do have the luxury of being able to wait for their ideal customer. I think where they get in trouble is they don't take the time to identify who that is. So if you haven't identified who that is, everybody looks like an ideal customer to you. If you think they can pay you, they look ideal, but they're really not.
That's right. Ideal means they have a wallet.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Gary, wind us up. He's finally got a stable internet connection, apparently.
Yeah, Riverside was giving me problems before. But okay. So, Katie, what would you say would be your top 3 pieces of advice for a new entrepreneur?
And for a new entrepreneur, top 3, because I probably had like a top 10, but I'll do top 3. For a new entrepreneur, and I'm assuming that this is an entrepreneur that is in the process of starting as opposed to one that's a little bit down the road. And I might say the same thing to somebody who's down the road. Know why you're doing this, because that's what will keep you through those really awful, uncomfortable days. Know your ideal customer so well that you can describe them and people have a mental image of who that person is. And know the environment. Know where your business is going to be operating. So I would say those 3 things. Know those 3 things. Take the time to know them. And business plans are not obsolete, by the way.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
No.
So I know in this age,
You can't
a lot
just
of people
have
are gonna-
ChatGPT draft one? Like,
yeah,
I
they're
have
going
a
to push
client
back
who
on
did
that.
that. Oh, I have a client who did that just a couple of weeks ago. It's starting a new IT service business for small businesses. Sent me a 49-page business plan. After about 3 paragraphs, I knew it was written by Chat GPT or somebody else because it was beautifully written, lots of great words, but not totally irrelevant to his business. So yeah, you can have chat if you know how to ask the questions. And it probably takes several, it has iterative AI interaction that you can get down to something that's close to you, but it's never going to be perfect for your business. And I actually advise people not to use chat and AI to create your business plan. You can use it to ask specific questions, but part of the business planning process is you going through the mental exercise of thinking to the high level of detail about your business. And you learn so much from that. If you let AI do the learning, then what are you left with as the owner? A well-written document that you can't explain to anybody.
Yeah. That's my kids and I get in arguments. They're older kids, 18 and 20, but they're talking about the younger kids who are in elementary school and whatnot using AI. And I, as a big AI person myself, I'm like, I think those kids are doing themselves a real disservice because they're not learning how to learn. I think AI is a wonderful tool, but like you're saying, if I have this idea for a business, but I don't go through the pain of
Yes.
really digging in there and understanding what is my business, then I'm
Yes.
never really going to understand it. And I think it's tough.
And they need to know that AI can be wrong because every AI app, and I think there are probably 600 now, between 2022 and 2024, there were over 200 written. They're all using a prescribed data set, their data set. And it does not include all knowledge in the universe. So AI can be wrong. Hey, there was a political candidate who used AI to create an image celebrating the Canes. I don't know if you heard about this. It was all over the news a couple of weeks ago. And the image was not of a Canes player, and they had on the wrong jersey.
Oh.
So they used AI to create this image to go ahead and get it out there celebrating the Canes and get a few more supporters, and they didn't check it. So
Nice.
I love using AI to create a first draft, that crappy copy that you wouldn't share with anybody, but at least it gets you thinking. And, you know, that it is great for that. It is great for summarizing big bunches of data that you give it to summarize. But it is not something that you should ever, without checking and making sure it really represents you, that you should share to anybody without checking. Because it's always going to be your name on it. You can't say, oops, I'm sorry about that big old mess I made. It wasn't my fault. It was my AI. Can't do that.
Well, Katie, if anybody wants to learn more about you, where's the best place for them to find you?
Right now, my LinkedIn profile is the best place because I'm still working on my Entrepreneur Whisperer website.
All right. We'll make sure that link is included in the show notes as well.
Great.
Well, thank you so much, Katie, for joining us. This has been a lot of
You're
fun.
welcome. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you said that.
On that note, we are out. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back next week. Have a good one.
That wraps up this episode of the BizDev Podcast. And this time you get me, Jen Baxter, co-owner of Big Pixel and David's wife. Yep, I finally took the mic, or wrestled it, away from David. BizDev is a production of Big Pixel, a US-based provider of UX design, strategy, and custom software. This podcast is edited by audio whiz Matt McCracken and Christy Pronto, marketing guru for Big Pixel. Want to connect? Shoot us an email at hello@thebigpixel.net or find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, and LinkedIn.